Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Liberal Tears on Tap Live. Tonight, I got a special guest, one that I've met here on X, a fantastic patriot, really has an amazing page and also a podcast. And I'm really excited to have her here tonight. 3 weeks ago, during after the murder of Charlie Kirk, really a lot of people were impacted in a lot of different ways, and people that didn't really even know him, people that weren't really that political, people from all spectrums were really impacted, and that his death really impacted a lot of us. We saw it, kids saw it. It was really just the worst type of thing that you would ever want to see into an amazing person. And so, a lot of us kind of came together in mourning for him, mourning for Erica. A lot of people I've had friends, that have been baptized ever since this, people that have been brought closer to their faith. A lot of different ways this has impacted a lot of people. We've seen marches, overseas, all kinds of stuff going on in support of who this man was and what he stood for. And so my guest here tonight was not really a political person, but she was impacted by this also, and has gained a lot of eyes on her because of the situation. And we'll get into that after I bring her here on stage. But without further ado, please welcome to the stage Cassie. How you doing, Cassie?
I'm good, Jay. How are you?
I'm great. So I'm happy to have you here tonight. We followed each other for a while here on X, and you were not very political on your page. You're that's not what you're about. But lately, you've been kind of thrown into it a little bit. But we'll get into that more. Tell us about who you are, what your page is about, and your podcast too. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so I woke up one day about 4 years ago and I was like, North Carolina culture is dying. We have all these people moving in, and it was right around that time that kids started telling their parents that, we have no culture, we have no culture. And I was like, that's not true. I'm going to prove it. And so I created a blog and I started talking about growing up with my grandparents, and I started telling their stories. And I have a really unique background because my mom's family is from one part of the state and my daddy's family is from the other part of the state. And so I spent half of my life in Western North Carolina and half of my life in Wilmington. And so I have been very deeply impacted by North Carolina's culture. I've lived in two places that, just they have very deep, rich, beautiful cultures. And so from there, I created my X account, and all I did was share history and, the accents. Like, I tell people how to pronounce the word pecan. I'm sure you would disagree from knowing where you're from. um, and then from there, I created a podcast where I invited other people on to start telling me about their experiences in North Carolina and teach me about where they're from. And yeah, so that's basically what I do. People started calling me the Queen of North Carolina. They would send me questions, and I would give them answers, whether it be about plants or animals or whatever.
Well, it's pecan, and my grandpa used to have a pecan tree in his yard. So, but no, that's cool. You do a lot of really cool posts, and I don't think pages like yours get enough recognition. I think it's really awesome what you're doing. It really even falls in line with what they wanted on X: more positivity, more kind of cool things or whatever to see. And I mean, you got everything from baking, you got to sites to explore and stuff like that. It's really awesome. I mean, even if you're not interested in North Carolina per se, I mean, it's really cool to see what you're doing on there. And it's really kind of a positive page, and so that's really awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I share recipes and all kinds of stuff. And North Carolina culture really falls under the Southern culture umbrella. So, I mean, if you're from the South, you're gonna relate at least to some things that I say. Maybe not my barbecue takes. If you're from Texas, you probably won't like me very much. But most people can relate, and I think that transplants really like it too because they get to learn more about our history and culture and stuff.
Yeah, and tell us about your podcast too.
Yeah, so it's called Where the Dogwood Blooms, just like my blog. And I've had Alan Mashburn on. For those of you who aren't from North Carolina, he actually ran for lieutenant governor. And so he came on and we didn't talk about politics at all. We ended up talking about like his family's tradition of making sauerkraut and, talking about where he grew up in the Sand Hills and the Uaris. And, yeah, so I mean, it's basically like I had Rob Cole on for you guys who are fans of The Voice. He came on right after he appeared last go round. This time he actually got moved on to the next round. I've had North Carolina Carrie on, uh, Margot in Western North Carolina. She's been on, and we talked about Western North Carolina. We didn't really talk about politics. So I mean, that's just kind of the idea behind it is to teach people about North Carolina.
Yeah, most of my followers know who Margot is, and the
There you
Punch
go.
Bowl is pretty well known here amongst conservatives. It's the one of the great day spaces, and she's a fantastic patriot. I met her. You know, I've tried to get away from politics myself, but I just keep getting drawn back in. But I would like to post more stuff like you do. I think it's really awesome. I think it's positive, and it's just really refreshing to see these come across my page. I love it when I'm scrolling, and I'm mad about the political stuff that I'm seeing, and then I see like a funny cat video or a funny dog video or somebody's cool scene from the beach or something like that, something really positive. So we appreciate the things that you're doing, the things that you're posting about, because I think it's really awesome.
Thanks. I like to, North Carolinians have a serious sense of humor. And so I like to poke and tease other people. I call South Carolina Sub Carolina, tell people that Ohio doesn't exist. Some people get mad, but most people understand that I'm just joking. And so it's a good time.
Yeah, the roads in South Carolina are terrible too. Just I can say that too. The interstate like 95 is just terrible. Like Georgia's got some bad spots too, but South Carolina is really yeah, they probably have to replace a lot of tires there. But so talk to us about what happened to you and how you were kind of thrown into the spotlight of recent.
Yeah, so I got invited to the Salt and Light Conference to sit on Media Row. And so I was thinking, I'm going to go here and I'm going to talk to some great North Carolinians and I will talk about some, ask questions about issues and hopefully get some people on the podcast to talk about culture and that kind of thing. And like you were talking about earlier, I wasn't somebody who like I knew who Charlie Kirk was. I don't live under a rock. I'm on social media. But he's not somebody that I was following. I wasn't watching all of his content or anything like that. Every once in a while my husband would be like, "Here, you need to watch this video," but it wasn't like something I was obsessed with. And right before he passed away, Irina Zarutska's murder happened. And that happened in Charlotte. And so immediately my inbox started flooding with people sending me like the video. And I cried for 2 days. Like watching that was just horrific. And then right after that, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. And so I was just in this weird place. I'm usually not very political, not just online, but in real life. Like anybody who knows me knows that like they'll talk about some big event that's going on and I have no clue what they're talking about. I mean, I have opinions, but I don't keep track of everything. And so I go to this event and everybody was just so incredibly kind. I mean, I'm not even a Republican per se, like I'm a constitutional conservative. My views don't necessarily align with Republicans all the way. And people were just incredible. They were so incredible. And so while I was there was this booth that was selling Freedom Charlie Kirk t-shirts with his signature on it. And so I bought one. And we wake up Sunday morning and I'm like, they were having a church service that day and I wasn't going to be able to interview anybody. And I don't get home to Western North Carolina very often. So I told my daughter, I was like, let's go explore. Like, we'll be at one with nature today, you know? And so we were going to ride the Blue Ridge Parkway and we thought about going home to Haywood County. And we ended up going to an apple orchard. And so we go to this apple orchard and I'm wearing this Charlie Kirk t-shirt, which I've never done before. I don't wear political stuff. And we go in and I realize like people are looking at me. Like there's a few people who are like looking at me and not in the best way. And at first I didn't even realize that I'm wearing this t-shirt, right? Because I mean, this isn't something like you're thinking about. And we get in the car and I'm like, did you feel like people were looking at me? And my daughter was like, you are wearing a Charlie Kirk t-shirt. And I was like, oh wow. So here we are in this tourist place and there are people, you know, like mean mugging me. And I'm like, oh, great. So we end up going to Little Switzerland and they have this amazing cafe. If y'all haven't been, you should totally go. Please don't let this experience keep you away from this cafe. It's delicious. And so we go and right beside it is a general store. So we go sit down and a guy walks up with a group and part of his group goes upstairs. He can't because he has a dog. And so he sits right behind me. But when he's walking by, like I start loving all over his dog and me and the guy like interact, like it was pleasant. And I was, you know, I had a little bit of a headache. So I told my daughter, I was like, hey, I'm going to run to the general store and I'm going to get some ibuprofen and I'll be right back. And so as I'm walking past him, past the patio, our eyes lock and I can see that like something has shifted. And so I go grab my ibuprofen and I come back. And when I'm walking back towards him, towards the patio, he's like, does your shirt say Charleston on it? And I was like, oh, no, sir. It says Charlie Kirk. And right then he started. And he was like, oh, well, you must not like people like me. And I sit down and I'm like, I'm sorry. And he was like, well, Charlie Kirk didn't like people like me. So you must not like people like me. And every time I would try to say something back, he would keep going. And finally, he got to the point where he was like, well, I'm same sex oriented. So, and I was like, okay, all right, well, you have a nice day. And I just turned around. Well, he rushes through his meal. And instead of waiting for his people to come downstairs to meet up with him, he walks across the street and goes and sits and waits for his people to come out, like his group to come out, because he did not want to sit near me. It was the craziest thing I have ever experienced in my life. Like I have never, I mean, my daughter was right there. He never stopped for 1 second and thought, oh, I'm being incredibly rude to this lady I've never met before. I won't let her get a word in edgewise, and I'm doing it in front of her kid.
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, you know, who, like honestly, like I don't know how you would know what he had going on in his life. Why would he expect you to know what he had going on in his life, who he sleeps with or whatever? Like the people are just absolutely insane. And it's the media, social media and stuff like that, it feeds a lot of their I guess entitlement, I guess like their ego in a lot of ways. It's just crazy that he would expect you would know these things. Who cares what he's doing? You're just there to with your daughter, like, and you wanted to get, get some ibuprofen. Thank God you weren't taking Tylenol, but, but it's just crazy the way people think, their entitlement, the way they have to be like almost the star, right? This person thinks that he's a star. You're doing this to support Charlie Kirk, not for the political piece, but because he's a human being. He's a father. He's murdered in broad daylight, and it was seen by everybody, right? It just like I showed. I have a 17 and a 19-year-old, and my 19-year-old won't be affected by it, but I knew my 17-year-old would be. Because he knows who Charlie Kirk is, but you know, he like I knew he was going to come across it on the internet, and he's a little bit more of an empath than his brother is, and so I asked him. I was like, "Hey, do you want to see this or whatever?" And he was like, "Yes." And I wanted to be there when he saw it. I didn't want him to experience this on his own. I didn't want him to like see this right before he goes into class at school or whatever, because he's gonna see this. It was everywhere. And so I showed it to him, and he went to his bedroom, right? And I gave him a moment, and I was like, "Hey, dude, are you all right?" And he was like, "I was not expecting that." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's pretty rough. Like, honestly, like, I'm a combat veteran. I've been to combat 5 times. Like, even me, I was like, wow, that was absolutely insane to see in broad daylight in America, on a university. So it's rough. Take Charlie Kirk aside, seeing that is rough for anybody. And so people, we're still reeling from the Irina video, like you said. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't feel compassion for both of them. And we were not over Irina's murder, and then Charlie Kirk happens right after. And so it's like double whammy. You're like, wow, like we're not used to seeing that in America. That this is not something that we're accustomed to, and a lot of the world is very harsh, and so we're just it's a little bit of a shock to have that here in America, and especially for everybody to be able to see it so openly. It was right on social media immediately, and kids and everybody could see it. There was no hiding it, and so yeah, it's rough. Like, and I am a Charlie Kirk supporter. I love the guy. I think he was a fantastic speaker. I think his message was great, and I even applied at one point to go work in Turning Point, and I was just like, wow. I was just like, where do we go from here? But it's crazy that you just put on a t-shirt and people just assume these things about you. People really categorize you as this person, and that's not who you are at all. You're not this evil person. You're a nice person. Your whole page is about getting out and experiencing North Carolina, and preserving that. And I don't know how anybody could assume anything negative about you. So talk to me about some reposts. And what were the big reposts that you got this week? Or, well, was it this week or last week?
It was this week. It was Sunday. So after what we experienced, I went to a little pull off, like an overlook, and I took the picture, and I sat there, and I wrote the post because I was angry and I was frustrated. And I posted it, and I didn't think about it again, because I mean, we were going to come home, and so we get on the road, and my daughter always has my phone when we're in the car. She's playing music, and every once in a while she'll check my social media to see what's going on. And I think around the 500,000 mark, she was like, something's happening. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, there's so many comments, I can't even keep up with them. And I was like, oh, wow. And so we keep driving, and a few minutes later, she's like, you're at 1 million. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, your post is at 1 million. So we get home and I'm like, my mind is blown. Like at this point, I think at one of the stops that we'd stopped at, like to use the bathroom, get drinks and stuff, I believe that Gunther Eagleman had commented. And I was like, what is even happening right now, you know? And so we stopped and we picked up dinner. And my husband hates social media. He does not use social media at all. Like he loathes it. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, how close are you?" And I was like, "I'm literally like 5 minutes away." And he's like, "Okay, so I need you to be calm." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "My friend just called me." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, he wanted to know if you just got retweeted by Elon Musk. And I was like, "No." I was like, I don't think so. And so I told my daughter, I was like, you need to check X because your daddy thinks that Elon Musk just retweeted me. There's no way. And so she checked it, and sure enough, Elon Musk had retweeted me. And I about wrecked the car. I was like, this is not happening. So he retweets it, and then it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And I think it topped out at about 21, 22 million views.
Good for you. I mean, and for the right reasons too. I mean, Elon's a good guy, and he's the only reason we're even up here. We're even able to talk about this type of stuff because before then, like I came to X and I had no traction on any other platform. Like everything was completely silent. Even on Facebook, my mom was like, "Yeah, I would see your posts like 2 weeks later or whatever." My mom, right? She's like, she's obviously like we're following each other, like, whatever. Like we're engaging all our content. She should be seeing me on a regular basis. And so, I came over to X because of Elon. And at first it was just dumb, like we were just reposting memes and stuff, having fun over here because you could, right? I was just blown away because Sarah Gonzalez was one of the first ones I saw, and she just ripped the band-aid off when Elon bought X. She was just just really taking advantage of that, and it was funny to watch. But I really originally just came over here just because I was silenced on all other platforms. This is the best place to get out, and it's smooth, and it's a really nice platform, honestly. And I come over here, and then you can really do some things with this platform. You can really do. I've tagged my congressman, and he signed on to a bill. You can do really cool things on here, and I am really thankful for Elon for providing this to us, because it's a lot of value to a lot of different people. And seeing your story and the way that you got out there, it shows that people will are drawn to good people, right? So we saw that you're a good person, and Elon saw that, and Gunther saw that, and a lot of different people saw that, and we're drawn to you. And it hopefully it helps your page in the long run too, because it's you have a lot of positivity. And this one incident, even though it was negative, you were in the right. You were standing on the side of the good, I guess, you could say. And for that, hopefully you're rewarded for that, and hopefully people are drawn to your page as a result of that repost. And God bless you for wearing the shirt, honestly, and supporting this person that was taken from us for all the wrong reasons. So I just appreciate for that.
Well, thank you. I've struggled over the past few days because I'm usually not political. And I had so many people reach out to me, especially bloggers. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but a lot of people who do what I do, they're on the left. And anybody who is like me, right of center, or right, whatever, if you're not on the left, you can't speak out. You're going to lose brand deals. You're going to lose sponsorships. You're screwed. And in this weird way, I feel like I helped create that problem, or I fed that problem by not speaking up, because It's almost like we've normalized it. Like we've allowed people to think that they're allowed to be pushy. They're allowed to, berate you because you don't think exactly like they do. Um, to me, it's absolutely wild that just by wearing a t-shirt that said freedom across the chest, I mean, I've gotten so, don't get me wrong, most of my comments have been extremely kind, but there has also been a lot of hate. And I mean, some truly vile things that I have seen. And all for wearing a t shirt. I mean, most of these people don't even know what a constitutional conservative is. They don't even realize that I'm not some, anti-gay person. Like they don't even get it. They don't know what constitutional conservative is. But because I wore that t-shirt, they think they know everything there is to know about me. And how disgusting is that? And it's because we've allowed it. We have allowed people to push the boundaries and push the boundaries until we've taken away our own voices. And I feel like we have to stop. And so getting all those messages from people, I realized I'm in the prime position because I don't make money. I mean, I make a little bit of money, but I don't make enough money where I have to gag myself. I still get to be me. And so I feel like I'm in the perfect position to do that. Now, if I'm going to continue to follow through with it or not, we'll see. Just because I don't like all the hate. I don't like the drama, which is why I usually kept everything politics free. But here we are now, so we'll see where things end up.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the way things happen. I'm kind of like in this, it's similar to you in that respect of like I'm not here to ruffle feathers. Like I'm not here to make people angry. I'm not here to do anything. But I keep getting drawn into the politics part. Granted I posted political stuff. I did that to myself. But the thing is like, like you know I'm not out to like make anybody feel bad. I'm not out to do anything. Like, I'm going to say what I feel. And, like I would like to post more, funny stuff, the uplifting stuff, I would like to get away from some of that, but again, when you do the political stuff, it's hard to get away from it. But, just, for people to assume things about you, it really sucks because, they miss out on a lot of things. A lot of people are very angry. A lot of people are very frustrated on both sides of the aisle, right? And there are some people in the middle that are just kind of like bewildered because they're they're really just living their lives, and they would like to continue to have the things that they had when they grew up. And so the political scene right now is very volatile. It's very like the pendulum could swing either way and stuff like that. And it's really like the people in the middle are kind of like really reeling and like kind of left out. It's just it's just what is regular anymore.
I feel like what's really awful about this is that people on the left don't realize that they've moved further left, abandoning people like me and calling, and now somehow I'm an extreme right winger. I've been called a maggot, and I'm not even going to repeat everything I've been called. I've been called some really, really bad things. And I'm like, what's crazy is that this side of, 10 years ago, I was voting mixed tickets. I was voting, I mean, I voted blue almost as much as I did red. And here we are today. And it's like, I wouldn't vote blue if you paid me. I mean, you couldn't convince me. And that's just from watching them self implode. I mean,
Right.
So, and I feel like a lot of us in my position are that way, where it's like, you had a good thing going and you went off the deep end. This isn't about me. This is about your party.
Yeah. I mean that, it shows too, like in a lot of our pickups, we picked up RFK, we picked up Elon, we picked up Tulsi, we picked up a lot of different people. We didn't like our views really aren't, well, I'm not going to speak for conservatives, but like I'm pretty conservative myself, and I have pretty right-leaning views, but the thing is like I don't think my views are that hardcore. Like honestly, like I'm really not that crazy. I just want to be left alone and raise my kids and not have to pay for $10, a gallon gas, right? Like I'm just just trying to get by. I want to go hunting. Just the simple things in life. I'm really not asking a whole lot, and I don't want to pay for other people's stuff. I don't want to pay for I don't want young women to be getting stabbed to death on the train. Like I don't want to, people like Charlie Kirk to go to university campus and try and have a dialogue with people and then get murdered in broad daylight. These are the things that I want. And so, it's just, but that's the way things are. And we don't need to go into politics or whatever. I won't talk about when all this started, when I think it started. But, for the longest time, I didn't have to deal with this stuff in the military because it's really frowned upon. We're not allowed to. So I had the luxury of just kind of pushing it away and just being like, I'm a soldier. I just do my job or whatever. But now, as a father, raising two teenagers by myself, I kind of have to be involved because I don't want them to grow up in a world where, it's really like it's going in a bad direction. I don't want them to have to deal with the things that they're dealing with in the UK. I don't want them to have to, never own a home or whatever, like I did. I want them to be able to own a home, have, raise a family, do the things that they want to do, go on vacations, whatever. I'm not asking a lot here. I'm just asking, for them to have the same opportunities that we did. And, if that makes me a far right extremist, then so be it, I guess. I don't want, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, but I'm really not crazy. I'm just a regular person trying to, get through life and not have to, worry about my kids getting stabbed or, here in Georgia, we had Lake and Riley, right? My kids are just a little bit younger than her, but a lot of my neighbors and a lot of my neighborhood, their kids go to that school and, they're not, she was not that far distant in age than my kids. And so, it really hit home. That was the first one for me. Like, that was just like, wow. I was like, something's got to change. So we gotta do something different in this country. We cannot let that stuff happen. And, because it was close to home, because it was, right here in Georgia, that one really hit home for me. And since then, we've had other ones too, but that was the first real one where I was like, wow, something's got to give.
I think that for me, it happened. Let's see. I would say probably with Obamacare. I grew up in extreme poverty. I mean, extreme. And we're talking like I can remember being 6 years old and praying, please don't let me freeze to death tonight. I mean, things were rough. And then I got married. I mean, then I moved in with my mom. My mom busted her ass to make our lives better, but that took a little while, I mean, she didn't buy an actual house. I lived in trailers until I was 17 years old, right before I moved out. And I got married young. We had kids young. So we were poor. And it took years for us to get to the point where we could finally afford healthcare. And we got to that point. My husband's job offered healthcare, and we were actually able to go to the doctor for the first time, like normal, and like since we were teenagers. And so I was so excited, like to get to go to the dentist, And then Obamacare went into effect, and his health insurance tripled. And I was like, what is even happening right now? Because we weren't, I mean, at the time, we were at the very bottom of middle class, like the very, very bottom of middle class. And our insurance tripled and we couldn't afford it. And if you went on Obamacare, you weren't going on normal health insurance. It was almost like Medicaid. And I was like, this ain't right. And then it was like just progressively one thing after another began to blow up. And I mean, when I was growing up in the 90s, we were taught to be colorblind. And I embrace that because I come from a very mixed family. I mean, I have Hispanic uncles, I have mixed race cousins. Like, race was never a big deal to me. And so when all of the race stuff started happening, my whole mind was blown because I was like, what is happening right now? Like, I had people that I went to high school with that we used to party and drink together, and they would ride with me places in my car, suddenly hate me. Like, what is even going on? And it just continued to steamroll to the point where now I'm like, this isn't, like I said, I mean, I'm going to repeat it. This isn't a me problem. This is your party's problem. This has nothing to do with people like me. This is all about you guys pushing extreme policies because that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, it again, I was again, I didn't want to go into politics, but it a lot of it started with Obama, and the reason we got Obama, I think, in a lot of respects, was John McCain, but I won't go into that. But I'm not a John McCain fan either. But it's crazy how polarized things have gotten, and the pendulum, it swings back and forth, back and forth. It, like, from really, I mean, to on our side, I'm a conservative or whatever, so I don't think it's really that extreme on our side, but it does go extreme to the left, and to the things that they're doing, and I caution people. I have friends that push for the Ten Commandments in school, and prayer in school and stuff like that, and I'm like, be careful with that stuff, because when it swings back, you're not going to like the results. And so I try and, like, when it comes to that, I try and be like, hey, reading, writing, and arithmetic in school, do not go into that, because, not that I'm against it, right? I'm a Christian. I would be okay with kids doing that. But the thing is like, when the pendulum swings back, you're going to have drag queens reading stories in school. And so I don't want that shit. And so, I just be careful with that stuff, because when it does swing back, then you got to deal with a whole lot more. And hopefully it doesn't swing back like that. Hopefully during Trump's administration, we can solve some problems in the next few years, and the 2026 midterms is going to be a big part of that. But but not to go too far into politics, but yeah. So talk to us about, so you got a space later tonight. I posted that. Hopefully it's showing up in there. You posted that. So what are you guys talking about tonight?
I have no idea. So whenever things are busy for me, we do an open mic night and people can pick whatever topic they want to. Spaces is usually the one place where I do get very political, like, because that's what everybody else wants to talk about. So if that's what you want to talk about, then come on. My spaces are bipartisan, which probably shocks a lot of people, but it's totally bipartisan. We usually get one or two Democrats who come in. Like, as long as everybody is nice to each other, I'm good. If people start getting rude or being, assholes, then I start kicking people out, because this is my spaces and you're not going to be mean to each other in my spaces. But usually it goes pretty well. I mean, we talk about everything from different North Carolina towns to different policies, or I've had Adam Smith has come on my spaces before and spoken. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag. It really depends on what night you show up.
Yeah, Spaces was where me and my co-host, we did a lot in Spaces, especially last year with the political spaces and stuff like that. But we also we've had movie stars on. We've had one of the coolest one that I did with Gen X. She and I did one with Dr. Robert Malone. We had Lynn Finn on there. We had Mary Talley Bowden. Dr. Cat, some really, really cool people were in medical spaces and stuff like that. You can do some really cool things. Spaces are the great equalizer. You can have somebody who lives in a trailer park, and they could be talking to somebody who's a billionaire in there, and that's real. And you would not have that opportunity to do that in any other place. Lives are cool too. I like doing lives. Obviously we're doing one right now, but the thing is like, spaces really put people in touch, and you can have a conversation and stuff. And sometimes it's tricky to, balance the like you were saying, people get really riled up and stuff like that. But I've had ones that were really great. I've had ones where I walked away and I was like, God, that space sucked. We really, but I've had some really good ones where I was like, man, that space is fantastic. And, not enough people heard it, because it was a really good conversation.
So we play a drinking game during my spaces where anytime Cassie says hillbilly, you have to take a drink. And I myself, as the host, have gotten so plastered that I had to end spaces and ended up deleting spaces because I couldn't remember what it said. But it's always fun. We usually have a good time. Most of the people who are in there are kind of like regulars, I guess. They show up every single week. And so we know each other and we have a good time and we laugh.
That's awesome. And I like your handle too, at Dogwood Blooms. It reminds me of home. We had Red Twig Dogwoods, where I come from. And that was, I don't know what a dogwood bloom is, but Red Twig like when I see your handle, that's what it reminds me of, is the Red Twig Dogwoods, where I come from. Minnesota and Alaska, they had them both. So down here, they don't have them. But
so you definitely have dogwood trees down there. And
yeah.
The dogwood bloom, or the flower, is North Carolina's state flower. And where the dogwood blooms is actually named after Where the Red Fern Grows, which was my daddy's favorite book. And my daughter suggested it. And, Where the Red Fern Grows is supposed to be like where an angel's touch down. And so that's how I think of North Carolina. And it's kind of like a little play on words.
Yeah. So what's upcoming for you? Are you going to take any trips? Are you going to what's going on with your page and, the future for your page?
So right now, a lot of people reached out to me. Well, I don't know if I want to. Okay. A lot of people reached out to me kind of pitching me and wanting to know about me doing video content, which I already do video content. It's just different. It's more like me teaching where words come from, or, little science facts about Western North Carolina, whatever. It's just teaching people about North Carolina. It's just like the rest of my page. And so I got to thinking about it, and I reached out to a bunch of people, yourself included. And so I think next is going to be a video podcast. I don't know if I'm going to do it live or not, because I really want to travel to my guest so that everybody can see where I'm going. So if I'm going to be in Charlotte talking to a ghost hunter, then maybe we'll be in a cemetery. Or if I'm going to speak to a politician, maybe I'll be in Raleigh. If I'm going to, speak to someone who's into shrimp trawling, then maybe I'll be on a shrimp boat, And I thought that would be unique and a different spin. So that's going to come next. It'll probably take me a few weeks, and I still have some audio content that's on backlog that I need to get through, but it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I do live, but mainly because I want to hear from people like you. Like I don't need to go, like we can do it from the internet or whatever. Like honestly, that's all of my content, like in terms of lives and spaces, is interview based. Like we want to hear from you. We like elevating y'all so that other people can hear you. So that's how mine are. So that's why I do it that way. But you could record it or whatever, but it's just as easy just to just do it in this fashion and then catch you right before your space. So then people can dump into your space and check out your space too.
That's cool. And I like doing it this way too. I just I like to travel, and so when I travel, I get to take photos and write about it too, because that's my number one passion, is I love to write. And so being on the road gives me some like other forms of content too. So I don't know, I thought it would be unique.
Yeah, I like to write too, and honestly, like I'm about 2/3 of a way through writing a book, and Insurrection Barbie and Zygos were two of the main inspirations. They both are writers also, and I met them in spaces, and they were the ones that encouraged me. They told me how to do it, and really, it's something that I wanted to do for a long time, and I just never knew that I could do it. You know, like I'm a regular person raising my kids. I work, and so just realizing that I can do it, and this is how I do it. I saw it from them, and that was really cool too. You meet some amazing you meet some people that you really can't stand and on here, and you meet some really amazing people and really inspiring people, and it's kind of wild, the things that happen on here. And so I'm thankful to them for that, to I guess kick me in the pants to get me going and to start writing that. So
That's awesome. Congratulations. I
yeah.
have always wanted to write a book. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if I kind of have ADHD. So I need to have like 100 million things going on at once or I'm not calm, you know.
Yeah, well, I've had some friends that were, in the military with me, and that we've been through a lot of stuff together. And, I've been on some pretty intense missions. And so hopefully I can, convey that, because that's what they are. Like I'm relaying actual missions that I was on in the military, because I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. And I think people don't really hear enough about it, and they don't really understand what a lot of people went through. And so hopefully I can relay that to them and make them understand, because I know my kids even don't understand. Explain something when we're playing like Call of Duty or something like that, and I was like, hey, yeah, like I did a mission like that, and so it doesn't seem real or whatever, but like, that's, I don't know how else to explain it to them, but a video game is maybe it kind of shows some of the stuff that we did. So yeah, it's just, hopefully the book comes through well, and hopefully not looking to make any money off it. I just want to relay the experience, for both for me and for other veterans too.
Well, thank you for your service. I don't know if I've said that yet, but thank you.
I
I
appreciate
think
it.
it's I think it's awesome that you're going to write about it and share it. A lot
Yeah.
of a lot of veterans I know, like my papa was in World War II, and I interviewed him once when I want to say I was in like 8th grade. We were supposed to write about our hero, and we were supposed to interview them and turn our interview into like like a newspaper article almost. And even after all those years, or maybe it was because it was me, or maybe it was because of my age, he had a really hard time talking about it. Like he struggled with that. And there's a lot of veterans in my family who are that way too. Like they don't talk about it to us.
Yeah, well, it's, veterans, we kind of speak the same language. I can go sit in a VA center or whatever, waiting for my appointment or whatever, and there'll be some, Vietnam vet or whatever sitting right there, and we can spark up a conversation. Like, we speak the same language. My great aunt gave me some letters from a great great grandpa to my great great grandma, and they were from the war, and I would read them, and his handwriting was like mine. It looks just like mine, but
Oh,
it looks like the way he wrote them, it was almost like it was me writing it to my ex-wife. And it was almost like it was my letter to her, like, because we wrote about the same stuff, we were concerned about the same things or whatever, all these years later or whatever. Like, it was the same thing, and it was pretty wild to see that, because you know I guess it's the human element to a lot of that stuff. And it's, regardless of the different wars, or regardless of years later or whatever, like, we went through a lot of the same things or whatever, and we were thinking about a lot of the same things that were important to me were the same things that were important to him. He had a wife, 2 young kids or whatever, and I was the same way. So it was like I wrote it, so it was like pretty crazy for me to see that.
If you can capture that human element in your book, it's going to be amazing because I've discovered that when I share, I'm pretty vulnerable online. For those who don't follow me, I'm really, really open and I'm really, really honest. And so I will share some just dark, fucked up shit, but it's true and it's raw. And so whether I'm talking about having PTSD or the death of my daddy or growing up, in poverty with, my dad had some issues with alcohol abuse and drug abuse, and when I talk about these things, they always get a really phenomenal response because it's not often that somebody will put themselves out there like that and people connect with it, they respond to it.
Yeah, for sure. And it helps to hear, somebody who's going through the same struggles as you. That's, I volunteered like at you know, talking to veterans for a little while or whatever, but like really I was trying to help them, but it was also helping me. You know what I mean? I was talking through the things that I'd been through. That's one of the things, communicating or whatever, like it helps you too. So, um, you know, going to keep those guys talking and keep them understanding that they're not alone, and that they're going through some of the same things that other people are going through, and they're and that can be even somebody like you, in your own life or whatever, or somebody who lost a child, or even Charlie Kirk's wife, like it's hard to go through those things, and to hear other people that are going through the same struggle, it really helps because it makes you feel connected.
Yeah. I think that's why my post went so wild, is because it was written in a moment where I just felt completely vulnerable. Like, people don't want to call it what it is. And what I experienced was prejudice. And it's not okay for people to be prejudiced. I would never walk up to somebody who was wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt and berate them. And definitely not in front of their children. Like, that's just completely disrespectful. And yet, so when I shared this, and it was like, people were like, I've been there, or I can imagine, or, and so I feel like people really connected with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anything, hopefully what comes of it is, people that were in that guy's shoes, people that feel that way, people that hopefully they take a step back and be like, there's got to be a better way. Like, I can't be coming at people like just for wearing a shirt. She's a nice person or whatever. Like, I see her online or whatever. Like, that's not what she's not this Nazi. She's not this crazy person or whatever. Like, hopefully people like him take a step back and be like, hey, this is not the way. Like, we can't live life like this. We can't be attacking people for wearing a freaking shirt that has nothing to do with me. Like that. Hopefully, if anything, that happens.
I really, really hope so, because honestly, like, all the way up until he started like being mean to me, I was the whole time I was thinking, wow, that is just the nicest guy. Like,
Right.
completely oblivious. Like, I would have continued to have thought, like, wow, this is the nicest guy. And no offense, I knew he was gay. You know what I mean? Like, I knew he was gay. And so I don't know. I don't know what made him so mad. Um, I think that a lot of people are just ready to unload on somebody. I mean, I've experienced it just in the past few days where people on the right, because I did not say, I made a couple of other posts following up after, the one that blew up. And there were people in my comment section who were hardcore right, talking about abolish the 19th Amendment, calling me a libtard. And I'm like, what kind of crazy world are we living in where I literally just went viral, and two posts later, here you are bashing me because you don't understand what I'm talking about, instead of taking just a second to step back and check out my profile. Here you are being a complete and total jackass, the same exact thing that you say about the other team.
Right. Yeah, we got to break that down, honestly. And keep doing you, keep being you, because I think you're awesome, and I think what you got going on online is awesome. And I'm gonna come check out your space right after this. I know we gotta go here. We got you got 8 minutes and your space starts. But so where can we find you? Where, let's run down the list. Where your podcast, your X profile, throw it out there to them. If they're not following you, they're going to be following you after this, hopefully.
All right, here we go. So you can find me on TikTok. It's Where the Dogwood Blooms. You can find me on Instagram as Where the Dogwood Blooms. You can find me on X. You can find the blog, which is www.wherethedogwoodblooms.com. You can find my, let's see, YouTube, and then you can find my podcast pretty much anywhere that you can stream a podcast.
Your main is in Spotify, though?
Yeah.
Spotify. It's on her profile. So if you're not following, please do follow her on all these platforms. Check her out on YouTube, Spotify, X, TikTok. I got to find you on TikTok. And give her a like, give her a follow. Check out her content, because she's a fantastic host and doing great things. And I appreciate your content. I wish more people would do content like yours. I think it's really awesome what you're doing. And hopefully, because of these reposts, hopefully, more people are turned on to you and, can see what you have to offer, because I think it's a lot. And so I just appreciate you coming here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Shay. And thank you for all of your help. So if y'all don't know, when I started wondering about creating a video podcast, I got sent to Jay, and he took time out to help me and to show me a bunch of different things. And so it's really him who helped me make my decision to create a video podcast. So thank you.
Well, I just like helping people. It's crazy. People do send people to me, and I think it's just because I was a first sergeant. That's just the way I am. And I've helped people write resumes. I've tried to. I've been contacts on security clearances. I've done a lot of different things for them, and I get, maybe I'm selfish in that respect, I get a lot of enjoyment from helping people out, and I like to see other people do well. That makes me happy. So can't wait to see you on there. Hopefully you host Elon Musk. That would be pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I could see it happening. Hey, you reposted you. So I've only ever gotten a comment from him, but no, I appreciate him too for this platform and for the opportunities. And he's opened that up for a lot of us. So awesome. I'm glad that we got to do this tonight. I will be coming to check out your space tonight, and I appreciate everything that you're doing out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All righty, there you go. That was Cassie Clark. Fantastic person, amazing, host and, content creator. Just a wonderful human being in general. Thrown into the spotlight for, an odd reason, but she was on the right side of things. So I just appreciate her coming up here tonight. I appreciate everybody watching here tonight. We got just under 10,000 watches. So I appreciate y'all coming here and hanging with us tonight. And please follow Cassie at Dogwood Blooms, and have a good night. Thank you.